Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And Xbox just confirmed some major exclusives for the Xbox Series this generation. Now, I'm not entirely sure this needed to be done, and I don't even think that this is overly surprising. But, well, I guess Microsoft needed to confirm this information, and not only does it look like Xbox will be getting a big exclusive next year, but it also looks like they will be getting an exclusive from one of the biggest franchises of all time. So we will go over all of that. Now, we also need to talk about Nintendo today because it looks like Nintendo Switch Online might be expanding sometime here soon. And I know fans have been wanting that for a very long time, so we will go over all that as well. With that said, let's just go jump right into the video, starting off with that Dead Space remake. Of course, EA confirmed that a Dead Space remake was in development earlier this year, but beyond a teaser trailer, we really haven't seen or heard much about this game. But that all changed today as Motive Studio held a Dead Space stream over on Twitch. Now, this stream didn't exactly have a ton of gameplay or anything like that, but we did get an updated look on this game, and visually, it looks really good. Now, they did emphasize that this is still very early in development and it doesn't represent the final product. But even then, they did show a comparison to that original, and it is a drastic improvement. It really is looking good. And one thing about horror games in specific is that the atmosphere is incredibly important. And based off what we saw today, I would say that they're nailing down that atmosphere. Now, they did also go into some details about how this game differs from the original and what they're looking to improve. I would say the most notable improvement here is actually with the gun mechanics and the dismemberment itself. And with that dismemberment, they're adding a bit more gore and precision on top of that. You're actually going to see the flesh come off their bone as you shoot into the legs or whatever part that you shoot in their body. But also, this adds an extra layer of precision to Dead Space. And the reason for that is because you're going to have to shoot the exact same location for dismemberment. So that's actually sounding really good. But they are trying to do a few other things to improve Dead Space as well. This includes with the zero-G movement, which they're trying to make a little bit more fluid than the first game. And then also, they're actually bringing back the Dead Space voice actor for Isaac. And that one is really interesting considering the original Dead Space did have a silent protagonist. It wasn't until the second game that Gunnar Wright appeared as Isaac's voice actor. But I personally really do like this. I think it's going to add just a little bit of extra immersion to Dead Space. For those who would prefer a silent protagonist, however, they did actually say this: there are some rules for Isaac's dialogue. One would be Isaac will primarily only speak when spoken to, and then two, Isaac will sometimes speak in a situation where it would feel weird if he remained silent. So it doesn't sound like that they're going to add in a ton of extra dialogue or anything like that. Regardless, based off what they showed today, I think that Dead Space is looking really good, and it definitely has a lot of potential. I'm going to be really excited to see how this one progresses as time goes on. Now, we also got some updates on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League as well as Gotham Knights. Both these games are highly anticipated, not just because they're coming from the DC universe, but also because they have some very talented studios working on these games. Rocksteady Games is the ones working on Suicide Squad, which are most well known for their work on the Batman Arkham series. Those games were absolutely excellent, so you know what type of pedigree they have. And then Warner Brothers Montreal Studios is working on Gotham Knights. Now, they've worked on Batman Arkham Origins in the past, so yeah, there's some real talent working on these games. But we haven't really seen much on these games for quite a while. Now, with Gotham Knights, that game was originally supposed to release this year in 2021, but it did eventually receive a delay. That's been kind of common with 2021 in general, and 2022 it's just looking absolutely stacked by this point. But the good news here is that we will be getting some updates for both Gotham Knights as well as the Suicide Squad on October 16th at the DC Fandom event. This was confirmed by Warner Brothers, so if you're looking forward to either one of these games, mark your calendar for October 16th, where you'll get an exclusive new look at both Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League as well as Gotham Knights. Hopefully we get some pretty extensive trailers on both of these games there at that DC Fandom event. Next up, we need to talk about Xbox and that Bethesda acquisition yet again. We've actually talked about this particular topic multiple times on the channel, but it just somehow keeps popping up over and over again as fans continue to speculate that Bethesda is going to release their games on PlayStation consoles in the future. And to an extent, that is true. As we've seen here recently with games like Quake Remastered, it does seem like Xbox and Bethesda are open to the idea of bringing remasters over to PlayStation consoles. And for that matter, Phil Spencer did kind of allude to that in the past whenever he talked about the Bethesda acquisition. Phil Spencer right away did say that they acquired Bethesda to bring exclusive content to Xbox consoles, but in some situations such as legacy titles that have already been out for years and years, such as Quake, Skyrim, and Doom, well, if they bring a remaster out for those games, they could go ahead and bring those to other platforms as well. And that does make sense. This also includes The Elder Scrolls Online. It's been available on PlayStation for years, and they're just going to continue to support PlayStation from this point forward. There's no reason to take it off that platform. Beyond that, though, Phil Spencer's wording actually indicates that future, completely new games coming from Bethesda will indeed be exclusive to Xbox. So I kind of thought the speculation that Bethesda games heading over to PlayStation would kind of end there, but that hasn't been the case at all. In fact, there was still a lot of speculation that Starfield was going to come over to PlayStation. But, well, that has since been debunked as well. Xbox did confirm Starfield's exclusivity over at E3. But, well, you know what? The speculation still didn't end there, as many fans continue to speculate that Starfield was just going to be a timed exclusive for Xbox. And okay, I guess Xbox hasn't completely confirmed that, so I guess the speculation can technically still continue, but, well, Xbox, they put an end to that today. Bethesda's Pete Hines did respond to somebody speculating once again that Bethesda was leaving the door open for Starfield as a PlayStation 5 game in the future by saying this: "No, that isn't what I was suggesting with a GIF using 'I'm literally grasping at straws.'" So that tweet alone was very clear, but Xbox went a little bit further. Aaron Greenberg also responded by saying, "We have tried to be as clear as possible. Not a timed exclusive. This is simply where the game is being made." So there he is. I think this once and for all should just completely dispel all rumors about not only Starfield being exclusive, but about Bethesda exclusivity for Xbox in the future. Phil Spencer confirmed that Xbox acquired Bethesda for exclusive content. Then they announced Starfield as an Xbox exclusive, and then now they have clarified that it is not a timed exclusive either. This is a full Xbox exclusive, meaning that it will be available on Xbox Series X, Series S, Xbox Game Pass, and then on PC. I know that there's going to be some disappointed fans from this, and I completely understand that. Bethesda is a massive acquisition for Xbox, and the fact that you can't play those on PlayStation anymore, yeah, I can understand the disappointment, but this is how acquisitions work. It's just the same as PlayStation acquiring Housemarque. They acquired Housemarque to make exclusive PlayStation games, and we're seeing the same thing here with Bethesda. Xbox acquired Bethesda to make exclusive Xbox games, and I really think that all speculations should just completely end here. And I mean, how many times are we going to have to confirm that, yes, Bethesda was acquired for Xbox exclusives? And for that matter, Jeff Grubb, the well-respected journalist over on VentureBeat that leaks, it seems like, something new every single week, also did say that The Elder Scrolls 6 will be exclusive to Xbox in the future. Now, that one truly is massive because The Elder Scrolls is a huge franchise. It's actually one of the best-selling franchises of all time, especially with Skyrim. Back in 2016, Skyrim had sold like 30 million plus copies, and I mean, they've continued to make that game. Who knows how much it's sold by this point, but The Elder Scrolls as a franchise is huge. So coming off the success of Skyrim, there's a lot of anticipation built for The Elder Scrolls 6. Now, unfortunately, it does look like that game is still years away, but here we're seeing Jeff Grubb, which has a pretty good reputation for these types of leaks. He is saying that The Elder Scrolls will be exclusive to Xbox. Again, I don't really think that that's too surprising because Xbox did acquire Bethesda. That's why Starfield has been announced as an exclusive title. That's why Redfall has been announced as an exclusive title. And I'm sure whenever The Elder Scrolls 6 gets announced, it's going to be announced as an Xbox exclusive as well. Just as the next Doom game, that's going to be an Xbox game as well. I know these are really popular franchises and everything, but let's stop fooling ourselves here. Let's just stop the speculation here and take a moment to realize that Xbox acquired Bethesda to benefit Xbox as a brand. They did not acquire Bethesda to benefit PlayStation. And again, I know that there's going to be some disappointment with that, and I understand that disappointment. But it's the same thing that PlayStation does. PlayStation acquired Housemarque and Insomniac Games to produce exclusive PlayStation content. And Xbox here, they acquired Bethesda to make exclusive content for Xbox. That's how these acquisitions typically work. But yeah, it definitely looks like, for the most part, Bethesda games will be exclusive to Xbox and PC in the future. Sure, a few games here and there might come to PlayStation, such as legacy titles, and then maybe that Indiana Jones game. The Indiana Jones game, that's the one that's kind of up in the air right now, considering that Disney is in that contract as well, and that was made before the Xbox acquisition. So we'll kind of see what happens with that, but for the most part, these Bethesda games will be exclusive to Xbox and PC going forward. Let's go and talk about the Nintendo Switch for a moment, though, or more specifically, that Nintendo Switch online service. Switch Online is actually a pretty cool idea where you can play old Nintendo games such as the original Nintendo or even Super Nintendo games, and it's pretty cool. You can play games like Super Metroid over there or some of the old Mario Brothers games, and it's a pretty cool idea. These are some of the most beloved games of all time packed into this subscription-like service, and even though their most recent additions have been questionable at best, it looks like they might be expanding this service in a major way. Now, this was first coming from the Nate and Hate podcast, where the insider Nate Drake does talk about how Nintendo might add in Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles in the coming weeks. But as of this moment, I mean, this is just one insider talking about the possibility of this happening. But this story actually gets a little bit more interesting because Nintendo Life, a well-respected news outlet, also confirmed with their own sources that yes, Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles are likely coming to the Switch Online service, quote-unquote, really soon. So there you have it. This leak is actually coming from multiple places right now, which makes this leak a little bit more plausible. Now, keep in mind, you should still take this news with a grain of salt until confirmed true, but if this does happen, I think fans are going to go crazy over this. This is something that fans have been asking for quite a while. Now, to be fair, they've also been asking for Earthbound to be released in the Switch Online, and that still, for whatever reason, hasn't happened. But I mean, if they do expand Switch Online with Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, the potential for this subscription service just shoots up drastically. I mean, Game Boy and Game Boy Color has a nice library of games, especially in some of their biggest franchises. And honestly, when you're talking about big Nintendo franchises, the timing of all of this kind of makes sense. I mean, you take a look at Zelda and Pokemon as an example. Both of these franchises are celebrating big anniversaries this year, and they have some pretty big releases overall on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. You have Pokemon Yellow, Red, and Blue, which is where the Pokemon franchise first started. You also have Silver, Gold, and Crystal. And then on the Zelda side of things, you have Link's Awakening as well as the Oracle games. And I love those Oracle games personally, especially Oracle of Time. It's probably one of my favorite Zelda games to date because the puzzles in that game is just absolutely excellent. But yeah, there's definitely some big Pokemon and Zelda games here, and this would actually be a great way to celebrate their anniversaries in the year of 2021. Now, keep in mind that all of this is just purely speculation, and there's no guarantee in any of this, but I want to go and cross my fingers that this one is true. Now, if this is true, though, when could we actually hear about it? And I mean, there is a rumor going around that a Nintendo Direct might be taking place sometime in September, and if that is the case, we might not have to wait too long before we get an official confirmation on that Game Boy and Game Boy Color expansion for Nintendo Switch Online. With that in mind, though, let me know in the comments below if this does actually end up happening. What Game Boy and Game Boy Color game would you most like to see hit Switch Online? Now, speaking of September, let's go and take a look at the poll of the day where I asked you all, what new game releasing in September are you most looking forward to? And right away, based off the results here, you can just kind of tell how absolutely stacked the month of September is for gaming. You all did vote Deathloop as your most anticipated game for the month of September, but you can clearly see here that the results were really close. This is something that I kind of struggled with as I was making a list for what games to include here, because I mean, I couldn't fit all the games I wanted to on this list, but yes, Deathloop came in at the number 1 spot with 28%, and in second place, 23 was Other, and a lot of you all was talking about how you are really looking forward to Tales of Arise in specific. I'm with you all on that one. I'm really looking forward to Tales of Arise. And then you had Kena Bridge of Spirits coming in at third with 21%, Lost Judgment at number 4, 17%, and then WarioWare at 10%. So everything was just kind of really close with this one, and like I said, it just kind of shows you how stacked the month of September truly is. Now, I will say for the month of September, though, PlayStation is looking really good in specific. At the number 1 spot, of course, you have Deathloop, which is a timed PlayStation exclusive. It will be available on the PlayStation 5 as well as PC. And then you have Kena Bridge of Spirits for PlayStation. That game looks absolutely gorgeous from a visual art style. Really hope that one turns out to be as good as it looks, because if it is, it's going to be a special game. So really hoping that one turns out to be a good game. But then you also have Death Stranding Director's Cut. We already know Death Stranding is a good but maybe niche game, and it looks like the Director's Cut, I mean, it's just taking everything to the next level. I love the Metal Gear Solid-like sections that we're kind of seeing with the Director's Cut, but yeah, it's going to be a good month for PlayStation fans overall. But, you know, it goes beyond that, because I think that all fans have something to look forward to, whether that be Nintendo with WarioWare, Xbox has games like Lost Judgment and Tales of Arise, and yeah, there's just a lot of good-looking games for the month of September. I know for me personally, Lost Judgment is the one I'm most excited for, because this is a sequel to Judgment, which is a spin-off to the Yakuza franchise. If you all know me, I really like the Yakuza franchises. I think it's personally one of the best story-driven franchises to ever be made. So that's the one that I'm really looking forward to, but honestly, I could say that pretty much every game on this list, yeah, I'm definitely interested in. By this point, though, it's really becoming an issue, though, of how can I make time to play all of these games? And yeah, that seems to be a growing problem anymore, as more and more games just goes to my backlog. Yeah, a lot of games. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.